Good morning, dear viewers. Welcome to our flagship program, Aviation Insight. We'll be talking to aviation personnel and professional that makes this industry safe for you and I. Come aboard. Hello, everyone. My name is Ricky Filnofe, and this is AT&T 360. With me is a very wonderful gentleman, a handsome man indeed, a man with lots of achievements. And I believe he's going to introduce himself to all of us. Sir, may we know you?
My name is Samuel Dokun, also the Director of Flight Operations, Jazz Aviation.
Wow. Okay. What actually inspired you to become a pilot?
Okay, I'll have to take you back to the inception. My mother worked in aviation for 35 years, so I was born into aviation, and I think what inspired me was every time we closed school, she took me back to our workplace. And of course, I used to tell her I wanted to see the aircraft, so she would take me back the pilots. So I think that inspired me all the way.
Wow, that was actually a wonderful experience. So, what
Mm.
are the rudiments you need to become a pilot?
To become a pilot, we have requirements, which is the basics. Is A lot of people don't know this. A lot of people think you have to probably know physics, a lot of maths, but you just need to be 16 to start to get your first pilot license. You need to have uh, certificates, SSC, which is the basics, and you need to have a class two. I think class two medical, not even a class one, to have a private pilot license. Yes, to start um, your flight school training, and of course there are certain courses that has to be passed. I think we have about 8 courses to pass for your PPL. So we have two licenses. Yes, to become what everybody thinks is just a pilot. You just say pilot certificate, but there are two licenses. There's a private pilot license, which is the first license you have to get, and there's a commercial pilot license, which gives you the privilege to fly for money, to get paid. So with a private pilot license, you're limited to only fly privately. In America for today, I mean, we have the general aviation, so they call it, is filled with a lot of PPL holders because you can just fly your own plane with the PPL. So, but if you aspire, of course, to go into, you know, getting paid, being the airline pilot everybody talks about, then you have to progress to get your CPL, the
Wow.
commercial pilot license, which the requirement now goes up. Of course, we have flying hours, which is attached to it, which is about minimum. I'm not sure of the FA, which is the American side license, but the ICAO, which is under Nigeria, you need at least minimum 200 hours to become a commercial pilot license. And the hours are broken down. We have instrument time, which is the hours you need to fly, using instruments with no reference to the ground.
Wow.
Yes, and we also have about 100 hours of solo time, which is only you have to fly in the plane, and you have to log 100 hours. Then, of course, we have the combined flying time, which you have to fly dual with an instructor to make up the whole 200 hours. Then you get qualified. Of course, and you have to pass your theory examinations, and you have to pass your final check ride, which is the final test that qualifies you to be a commercial pilot.
Wow, that's something. Can you share with us your first experience of flying a plane?
So that takes us back to the training aspect. The first time is called a solo hour. So, I mean, there's most people to go solo, which is when they let you go to fly the plane by yourself.
Fly yourself.
Everybody has it. It varies, to your ability. You are expected at the 13th, mostly 13, 14, 15 hour to fly to go solo. I cannot remember. Maybe I was a bit slower, but I think I went solo a bit late. But I mean, I remember like yesterday, the instructor did not tell me. Of course, there's something we call circuit flying. It's part of the what do you call it, the training phases. So there's a phase where they teach you how to just go and fly straight, at least fly the plane straight and level. There's some maneuvers, which is how to turn the plane and keep it steady and hold the altitude. And of course, the phase of you approaching to land the plane. So that should be around lesson 11 or something like that. So yeah, I mean, the first day, my instructor, we had a couple of circuit flying, and we landed, and he taxied to the fueling bay, and he was like, "Have a nice one," and I'm like, "Is this guy joking?"
Oh
you know, it's for every. I think this would be the experience of every pilot. The first time is like, no, please, can you come back and stay beside me? Don't go. Okay, just one more. Let's just do one more, then you can come down. So yeah, and that's the only way to do it. If when you tell people that, okay, I'm going to, after this one, you go and do your own, then they become nervous. So the best thing is that don't even tell the students. Just learn and tell him, have a nice one. Just do what we just did. So I remember him telling me, you know what, Sam, just go enjoy, do exactly what we did. And it's a different whole entire feeling. I mean, all of a sudden the plane gets a bit lighter, you take off, and you're like, hey! And when there's something we call the downwind in a circuit, I mean, if you picture a straight line and a square on top of the straight line, so the circuit is basically, you take off on that straight line in the middle, then you have to complete that circuit. You come back and land the aircraft. So you do a circuit and you come back to land. So on the downwind, which what we call it, I mean, you're like, now because we fly on the left in train, you're looking at the right and you're like, man, I'm the only one. Exactly. I'm the only one here. Wow. And of course, you come back, you land the plane, and it's a party. I mean, for every solo, it's an achievement. It's a first achievement in every pilot's career. Wow. And you have the water spraying. Everybody's excited. You went solo. So yeah, it was an amazing moment that every pilot wants to experience.
What's the difference between a pilot and a co-pilot and their duties?
Okay, very good. I like that question because I want to clarify for people who don't understand. So the pilot and the co-pilot are both pilots to start with. And the right question should be, what is the difference between a PIC and SIC? Because a PIC is an acronym for Pilot in Command, which is the person in charge, which what we call captain. But there could also be two captains in a plane, which can happen. Even in our company, we fly two captains. So you could say pilot, co-pilot, which is co-piloting with the other pilots. And we could have a PIC and SIC. So roles and responsibility of the PIC. The PIC is responsible for the flight, the cabin, everything that happens in that aircraft, the PIC is responsible. While the SIC is there to support and to second in command, of course, if the PIC delegates to him. Because they are both pilots, right? They can both fly the plane. But there's just that, okay, somebody needs to be a leader. So a PIC is basically the leader of the flight. So he leads and commands everything that has to do with that flight, down from ground, up, cabin, and is responsible for all the passengers. So that's why you see, if you've maybe had an issue commercially, maybe you were flying and you hear this is your captain speaking, and you get the brief from the captain because he's responsible to let you guys know what is going on. But you can delegate. You are the co-pilot, which is supposed to be the second in command. You can delegate to him and say, okay, you do this and you do that. And that's what we in our field, and in I think oil and gas, I'm not too sure, is called CRM, Crew Resource Management. It's a course where it helps everybody to work together, to understand teamwork. and to do more of it's called workload management as well, to manage what is going on, so everybody needs to, work together. So that's why there's a course in aviation called CRM, where you have to take even down to the cabin crew, even down to the ground staffs. Everybody needs to understand what the crew resource management is all about, working together. And there's no much of a difference, to be honest, because you go to the same class, the pilot and the co-pilot, the classes are not separated. When you go for what we call a type rating or a recurrence course for pilots, in this case, they don't separate the captain's class from the co-pilot's class. We take the same course. So you should have the same level of knowledge. But of course, the PIC in most cases has more experience than the second in command. So that's why they make him the leader, because of the experience he has, and his decision making should be better, not because the knowledge is different. You should have the same knowledge of what is going on in that aircraft.
I would like to ask a question. In rare cases, if both pilots are indisposed, what happens?
You mean incapacitated?
Yes.
That's the word we use. If the both pilots are incapacitated,
Yes.
then we don't pray for that. I mean, of course, you don't have. So incapacitation is also an interesting question that I would like to share some light on. So yes, we are trained for incapacitation. In fact, it's one training where I know I was trained that way earlier in my career. The other pilot plays dead. And of course, there are procedures to these things. It's not just, the pilot goes dead. So they prepare us for it. They prepare us for it in training. And you need to follow through the procedure. You check the threads, you check, what's going on, the nature of what your intention is. It's called the response to it procedurally. It's called TIN, which is you identify a threat, you do your intentions, and you identify the nature of what went wrong. So you quickly do your thing, and you call your cabin crew, because remember it's CRM once again. So what can she do to help in that situation? Which means can she quickly do a CPR on the other guy? Or because you don't want the other guy, maybe it's collapsed, which has happened a lot of times in aviation. Of course, we've had incapacitation. That's why they prepare us for it.
Wow.
So in an event of incapacitation, you need to, not have we call something a startle effect, which every human being has. It doesn't have to apply to aviation only. A startle effect is when something happens, you get a shock.
Yes.
But for pilots, you have to keep your calm at all times. Well, it doesn't really happen, but if you can overcome that startle effect to, look at the situation calmly, think of what to do. It's not easy, but I mean, if you can, get the cabin crew, do what, or you secure the guy, and of course, we hope that the guy that is still conscious knows what to do to get the plane safely on the ground. So yes, incapacitation can happen. It's a good question. Yeah.
Okay. As a certified pilot, does it mean you can fly other aircrafts like the helicopters, drones, and all that?
Very good. Yes. The answer is yes, you can. And but it's not automatic. It's not like your car. The moment you know how to drive a car, you can drive any car. Well, yeah, you have to train to drive some bigger machineries like maybe tipper and all those things. So, but for us in aviation, if you want to fly, we call what I fly. I train to be a fixed wing pilot, which is your aeroplane that has wings, where most people fly. Then we have fixed wing. Then we have rotary, which is the helicopters. That's what they are called. So there's a different training, because there's a big difference when it comes to the principles of flying both. So that's where you need to have the knowledge to understand that, the principles of flying the helicopter, the rotary wing, is different from the principles of flying, just slight differences, but, that's where you have to go and train. But then if you are a fixed wing pilot, so what they do is that instead of you still going to going through that whole process of the hours, because it's basically the same thing. The metrology doesn't change, the navigation doesn't change, which are the theory part of training does not change much apart from the principles of flying. So they reduce the time for switching into going from fixed wing to rotary wing. So you spend less time to become an helicopter pilot, and vice versa as well. And yes, you could fly any kind of aircraft.